Let me tell you something. Too many people today are exhausted, stressed, losing sleep, checking phones every 5 minutes, overthinking text messages, replaying conversations in their heads. Why? Because they're chasing somebody who isn't giving them the same energy back. Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Harvey. Let me tell you something that a lot of people learn too late in life. Your attention is valuable. I'm going to say it again because some of y'all need to hear this deep in your spirit tonight. Your attention is valuable. You think money is your greatest asset? Number. You think beauty is your greatest asset? Number. You think status, followers, or popularity are your greatest assets? Wrong. The most valuable thing you have is your attention, because wherever your attention goes, your energy follows. And wherever your energy goes, your life starts moving in that direction. See, attention is something you can never get back. You can lose money and make more. You can lose opportunities and create new ones. You can lose possessions and replace them. But once you spend time and emotional energy on something, that's gone. You don't get that back. So if you are giving your attention away, Carell, Esley, if you're handing out every day to somebody who barely notices it, then you're giving away one of the most precious things you own. Now, some of y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. You wake up and the first thing on your mind is that person. Before your feet hit the floor, you're thinking about them. You're checking your phone. You're looking for a text. You're opening social media, hoping to see a post, a story, a sign, anything. And suddenly your mood for the entire day depends on whether somebody gives you attention back. Now, let me ask you something. Since when did your happiness become dependent on another person pressing buttons on a phone? See, that's dangerous right there. Because the moment somebody controls your emotions without even trying, you've given away power you should have kept for yourself. And people do this every day without realizing it. They start investing more energy into somebody else's life than their own. They think about what he's doing, where he is, who he's talking to, why he took 2 hours to reply, why his message sounded shorter today, why he viewed a story but didn't text back. Now your whole day becomes detective work. You're a circa, collecting clues, analyzing signals, reading into every little thing. And meanwhile, life is passing by. You know what's happening? Your attention is being spent in places where there's no return. See, successful people understand something powerful. Attention works like currency. You spend it wisely. You invest it carefully. You don't throw it around everywhere hoping somebody notices. Imagine somebody walking down the street with stacks of money in their hands, throwing $100 bills at random people. Folks would call that crazy. They'd say, what are you doing? You're giving away something valuable for nothing. But emotionally, people do this every single day. They give unlimited attention, unlimited access, unlimited effort, unlimited emotional investment to people who have done absolutely nothing to earn it. And then they wonder why they feel empty. See, attention creates attachment. The more focus you put somewhere, the more emotionally connected you become. That's why you can think about somebody all day and suddenly start feeling stronger emotions toward them, even if they haven't earned it. Because your mind follows your focus. Whatever gets your attention. Ention begins growing inside your world. That's why if you spend every waking hour focused on one person, eventually they become bigger in your mind than they actually are. You create a version of them that may not even exist. Now suddenly they're your source of happiness. They're your source of excitement. They're your source of validation. And that's too much responsibility to place on another human being. Nobody should carry that much power over your life. See, your attention was never designed to become chains. Your attention was designed to build your future. Some of y'all got dreams sitting on shelves collecting dust because your energy is being spent chasing somebody else's attention. You got goals you've delayed, businesses you postponed, books you never started, ideas you never pursued, skills you never developed, because your emotional energy has been tied up in somebody who keeps giving mixed signals. Now hear me carefully. When you constantly give somebody your attention for free with no standards, no boundaries, no balance, something dangerous happens. They start expecting it, not appreciating it, expecting it. There's a difference. On says, wow, this means something. Expectation says, of course they're here. And familiarity can sometimes create comfort. People become used to receiving your energy, used to your messages, used to your effort, used to your availability, until one day your presence becomes routine instead of special. And that's why protecting your attention matters. Not because you're trying to play games, not because you're trying to manipulate anybody, but because your energy deserves value. See, when you start investing attention back into yourself, everything changes. Imagine waking up and instead of checking who texted you, you focus on your goals. You focus on your health. You focus on your purpose. You focus on your peace. Now your happiness doesn't rise and move. Now you're creating your own joy. That's power. Because confidence starts growing when you realize your life does not pause waiting for somebody else. And people notice that energy. Oh, trust me, they notice. Because when somebody realizes your world no longer revolves around them, something shifts. Suddenly they feel the difference. Suddenly they recognize your value. B, because people often notice what they've lost access to, and the greatest mistake many people make is treating their attention like it's unlimited. Number, your attention is expensive. Your focus is expensive. Your energy is expensive. Stop giving it away for free. Because once you understand your value, stop chasing people. And you start choosing where your energy belongs. Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Harvey. Let me tell you something about human nature that most people fight against their whole lives. People chase what feels rare and meaningful. That's not a game. That's not manipulation. That's reality. Human beings naturally place value on things that feel important, things that require effort, and things that cannot be taken for granted. Now, before some of y'all misunderstand me, I'm not talking about pretending to be unavailable. I'm not talking about acting cold, ignoring people for attention, or playing emotional games. I'm talking about understanding value. There's a huge difference. See, when something becomes too easy, people often stop recognizing its worth. It happens everywhere in life. Think about air conditioning. Sit in a hot room for 3 hours with no air, and suddenly cool air feels like a blessing from heaven. But when you have it every day, all day, you barely notice it, you expect it, you assume it'll always be there. Human beings can do the same thing with attention. When you are constantly available, constantly texting first, constantly showing up, constantly checking in, constantly proving your feelings, some people slowly stop appreciating the effort. Not because they're evil, not because they're bad people, because familiarity has a strange effect on the human mind. People often become comfortable with what is always present. Now hear me carefully, because this right here changes relationships. Comfortable is not always bad, but comfort without appreciation becomes dangerous. See, when somebody feels like they never have to work for your attention, never have to earn your effort, never have to wonder about losing your presence, they can begin treating your energy like a guarantee instead of a gift. And gifts lose their magic when people assume they'll always arrive. Now, some of y'all have been living like this for a long time. You're giving everything away immediately. Day one, you're emotionally invested. Day two, you're available 24 hours. Day three, you've rearranged your schedule. Day four, you're acting like you've known somebody for 10 years. Slow down. Because sometimes people don't even have the opportunity to discover your value. You're handing over every piece of yourself before they've shown consistency, effort, or intention. See, value grows through discovery. Think about your favorite movie. Imagine if somebody sat beside you and told you every scene before it happened, told you every surprise, explained every ending. By the time you watched it yourself, the excitement would disappear. Part of value is anticipation. Part of value is mystery. Part of value is allowing people to experience layers over time. You don't have to reveal everything immediately. You don't have to chase immediately. You don't have to overextend immediately, because people chase what feels meaningful. And meaningful things usually require investment. Let me explain something I learned in life. People protect what they work for. People appreciate what they sacrifice for. People remember what challenged them. That's why a college degree means something after years of effort. Or that's why achieving a dream feels powerful after years of work. That's why buying something with your own hard-earned money feels different. Effort creates emotional attachment, and relationships work similarly. If one person does all the work while the other simply receives all the benefits, imbalance starts growing. One person becomes exhausted, the other becomes comfortable, and eventually resentment enters the room. See, relationships are not supposed to feel like job applications where you're constantly proving why you deserve somebody. Number, mutual effort creates healthy attraction. Mutual investment creates healthy relationships. Because if one person is carrying all the emotional weight, eventually that weight becomes too heavy. Now here's where people get confused. They think chasing proves love. They think constantly proving themselves demonstrates commitment. They think overgiving shows loyalty. Number, sometimes overgiving reveals fear. Fear of being forgotten. Fear of losing somebody. Fear of not being enough. And fear makes people overcompensate. You text more, call more, give more, try harder, not because you're confident. B, because you're afraid. And people feel energy. Oh, they absolutely feel it. See, confidence has a different energy. Confidence says, I care about you, but I also value myself. Confidence says, I enjoy your presence, but my life remains meaningful with or without you. Confidence says, I'm not here to convince anybody to choose me. That energy changes everything, Because confidence feels rare. Confidence feels meaningful. Confidence attracts. Now, let me tell you something powerful. Scarcity creates attention. Think about limited opportunities, limited seats, limited tickets, limited offers. People suddenly move faster when they realize something may not always be available. Why? Because human beings naturally pay attention to value when they recognize limits. Now, don't misunderstand me. You are not supposed to become emotionally unavailable. You are not supposed to disappear. You are not supposed to become distant and cold. But you should understand that your time, your energy, your affection, and your emotional investment are valuable resources. Everybody does not automatically deserve unlimited access. And when you understand that, your whole mindset's high. Anges? See, many people hand out loyalty before trust exists. Hand out emotional investment before commitment exists. Hand out priority before consistency exists. Then later they wonder why they're hurt, because they offered priceless things too early. You have to allow people opportunities to show effort. Allow them chances to pursue. Allow them chances to meet you halfway. Because if somebody never takes a step towards you, eventually you have to ask yourself whether they're truly walking beside you at all. See, meaningful things are pursued. Meaningful things are protected. Meaningful things are valued. And if you keep running after people, trying to force connection, trying to convince them to care, trying to prove your worth, eventually you become tired, because chasing is exhausting. But when you become a person who values yourself, respects yourself, and protects your energy, you stop forcing things. You stop begging for attention. You stop proving your worth. And that's when something interesting happens. People begin recognizing your value because they finally see what you saw in yourself all along. Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Harvey, let me tell you, something that changes relationships, changes confidence, changes the way people see you, and most importantly, changes the way you see yourself. Self-respect creates attraction and changes energy. You hear me? Self-respect changes energy. Not money, not looks, not popularity, not fancy clothes, expensive watches, or social media followers. Self-respect. Because people can feel how you see yourself long before they listen to what comes out of your mouth. Now, I know some people think attraction starts with appearance. They think attraction begins with perfect hair, perfect makeup, perfect clothes, perfect pictures, perfect angles. And don't get me wrong, taking care of yourself matters. Looking your best matters. Presenting yourself well matters. But let me tell you something I've learned in life. Beauty might catch attention, but self-respect determines how people treat you. Because confidence without self-respect is fragile. And attention without self-respect becomes dangerous. See, when you don't respect yourself, strange things begin happening. You start accepting behavior that hurts you. You start making excuses for things you know are wrong. You start lowering standards just. Stay to keep somebody around. Suddenly you're tolerating inconsistency, mixed signals, disrespect, broken promises, late night excuses, emotional games, and situations that steal your peace. Not because you deserve it. Because somewhere along the line, you became more afraid of losing people than losing yourself. Now that right there is dangerous, because the worst thing you can lose isn't a relationship. It isn't attention. It isn't somebody walking away. The worst thing you can lose is yourself while trying to keep somebody else. And people do it every day. They shrink. They adjust. They silence themselves. They ignore their instincts. They pretend things don't hurt. They laugh when they're disappointed. Smile when they're exhausted. Say it's okay when deep down they know it isn't okay. Why? Because they fear rejection. Because they fear being alone. Because they think keeping somebody is more important than protecting themselves. Number. Listen to Steve. Self-respect means refusing to abandon yourself just because somebody else might leave. See, people watch your actions more than your words. You can tell somebody, I know my worth all day long, but if you tolerate everything, chase endlessly, accept disrespect, and keep returning to situations that damage your peace, your actions tell another story. Actions reveal standards, and standards reveal self-respect. Now hear me carefully because this right here changes energy. The moment you decide that your peace matters, your choices change. The moment you decide your time matters, your behavior changes. The moment you decide your heart deserves protection, your standards change. Now suddenly you're not saying yes to everything. Now suddenly you're not available every second. Now suddenly you're paying attention to effort instead of excuses. Because self-respect creates boundaries, and boundaries confuse people who benefited from your lack of them. Oh yes, some people become uncomfortable the moment you stop accepting things you used to tolerate. The moment you stop chasing. The moment you stop over-explaining. The moment you stop carrying relationships alone. Suddenly they notice, because your energy changed. See, when somebody has unlimited access to your attention, regardless of how they treat you, there's no challenge to grow. There's no accountability, but self-respect changes that. Self-respect says you don't get access to me simply because you want it. Self-respect says my kindness is not permission to disrespect me. Self-respect says loving you does not mean losing myself. Now understand something. Self-respect is not arrogance. A lot of people confuse those two things. Arrogance says I'm better than everybody. Self-respect says I value myself. Big difference. Self-respect doesn't make you rude, doesn't make you cold, doesn't make you selfish. It simply means understanding your value without needing constant approval. And people are drawn toward that energy. Why? Because certainty is attractive. People are naturally attracted to individuals who know who they are, not perfect people, not people with all the answers, people who know their worth, because uncertainty creates chaos. When somebody constantly needs reassurance, constantly seeks validation, constantly fears abandonment, people begin feeling emotional pressure. Now suddenly relationships become exhausting, not because love disappeared, because fear entered the room. And fear changes energy. See, fear makes people hold tighter. Self-respect. T teaches people when to release. Fear says, don't leave me. Self-respect says, I value you, but I value myself too. That right there is strength. See, some of y'all think strength means fighting harder for people. Sometimes strength means walking away from situations that require you to betray yourself. Sometimes strength means saying no. Sometimes strength means being alone temporarily instead of accepting less permanently. But let me tell you something else. When you respect yourself, your entire presence changes. You walk differently. You speak differently. You think differently. You carry yourself differently. You stop entering rooms looking for acceptance. You stop worrying about who likes you. You stop performing for approval. Because your confidence no longer depends on external validation. Now your value comes from within. And trust me, people notice. They may not understand it immediately. They may not know exactly what changed, but they feel it. Because energy speaks before words do. Self-respect changes posture, changes decisions, changes standards, changes relationships, changes everything. Because when you truly respect yourself, you stop chasing things that constantly run away. You stop forcing things that constantly resist you. You stop proving yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. And the moment you stop abandoning yourself for others, people begin treating you according to the value you finally decided to place on yourself. Fire crown, ladies and gentlemen, Steve Harvey. Let me tell you something that took a lot of people years, heartbreak, tears, disappointment, and sleepless nights to finally understand. Become the prize, not the pursuer. I'm going to say it again because somebody out there needs this to hit their soul tonight. Become the prize, not the pursuer. See, too many people wake up every day trying to convince somebody else to see their value. They're trying to prove they're enough, trying to prove they're lovable, trying to prove they're worth choosing. They're running harder, trying more, giving more, sacrificing more, hoping that one day somebody finally says, okay, now I see your worth. But let me ask you something. Why are you trying so hard to convince people of something you should already know yourself? See, that's where the problem begins. Because when you don't really believe in your own value, you start outsourcing your confidence. You start depending on other people to tell you who you are. You depend on text messages, attention, compliments, reactions, phone calls, and affection to feel important. Now your self-worth is sitting in somebody else's hands. And that's dangerous because people are human. They're inconsistent. Some days they're busy. Some days they're distracted. Some days they're dealing with their own problems. But if your confidence depends entirely on another person constantly reminding you of your value, then your emotions will rise and fall every single day. One good message makes you happy. One delayed reply ruins your mood. One compliment makes you feel beautiful. One moment of distance makes you question yourself. That's emotional dependence. And dependence creates chasing. See, people start chasing when they believe somebody else possesses something they themselves are missing. If you think another person holds all your happiness, all your confidence, all your joy, all your value, then of course you're going to chase them. You're going to run after them because you think losing them means losing part of yourself. But hear me carefully. People should add to your life, not become your entire life. Big difference. See, when you become the prize, your whole mindset changes. Now you're not asking, how do I make somebody stay? You're asking, does this relationship deserve my energy? Now you're not asking, how do I keep their attention? You're asking, are they bringing peace into my life? Now you're not constantly trying to be selected. You're evaluating, you're observing, you're paying attention, because becoming the prize starts with realizing you also get to choose. Some of y'all forgot that. You spend so much time hoping somebody chooses you that you forgot you have choices too. You forgot your standards matter. You forgot your peace matters. You forgot your future matters. You forgot your happiness matters. And once you remember that, your energy shifts. See, confidence isn't walking into a room believing you're better than everyone else. Confidence is walking into a room knowing you don't need approval from everyone else. That right there changes everything, because now you're not desperate. Now you're not performing. Now you're not overextending. You're simply being yourself. And authenticity is powerful. See, people can feel desperation. Oh, yes, they can. You may hide it with smiles, hide it with jokes, hide it with confidence, but energy always speaks. Desperation says, please pick me. Confidence says, I'm already enough. And those two energies feel completely different. See, when somebody becomes the pursuer all the time, they unknowingly place the other person on a pedestal. Now, suddenly the other person becomes bigger, more important, more valuable. Meanwhile, you slowly shrink yourself. You lower standards. You excuse bad behavior. You ignore red flags. You overlook inconsistency. Why? Because you became so focused on keeping somebody that you forgot to keep yourself. No relationship should require self-abandonment. No relationship should require sacrificing your dignity. No relationship should demand that you constantly prove your worth. Because healthy love isn't earned through exhaustion. Healthy love flows through mutual effort. See, when two people genuinely value one another, nobody has to run marathons for affection. Nobody has to beg for consistency. Nobody has to constantly wonder where. Do they stand? Because effort naturally meets effort. But some people spend years chasing unavailable people. Emotionally unavailable, mentally unavailable, spiritually unavailable. If I just give more, if I just stay patient, you cannot convince somebody to become ready. You cannot love somebody into valuing you. You cannot force somebody to recognize your worth. People see your value when they choose to see it. And if they refuse to see it, chasing won't change their vision. See, eagles don't chase flies. Lions don't chase approval. Diamonds don't announce they're valuable. Their value already exists. And understand something powerful. Becoming the prize has nothing to do with arrogance. It doesn't mean acting superior. It doesn't mean becoming cold. It doesn't mean pretending you don't care. It means understanding that your value exists before somebody acknowledges it. You were valuable before they texted you. Valuable before they complimented you. Valuable before they entered your life. And you'll remain valuable whether they stay or leave. See, once you truly understand that, fear starts to sap. Earring, now you stop panicking over distance. You stop chasing people pulling away. You stop trying to force connection. Because confidence whispers something powerful into your spirit. What belongs in my life won't require me to lose myself. And trust me when I tell you this, when you focus on becoming better instead of becoming chosen, people notice. When you focus on growth, purpose, peace, confidence, health, joy, and self-respect, your energy becomes magnetic. Not because you're pretending, not because you're playing games. Because you finally realize something most people spend years trying to discover. You were never supposed to spend your life chasing people. You were supposed to become someone whose value speaks before words ever need to. Fire crown.